Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be discussing the quotient rule, building off of the product rule from my previous video. So we're going to discuss how to recognize the quotient rule and just how to go about it and how to operate and perform the quotient rule. So if you watched my previous video, and if you haven't, that's okay. We have one bigger function, h of x, for example, you can name this whatever. And then you have two functions, for example, you have f of x, but of course, it's not the product rule. So instead of the quotient in the quotient rule, you have f of x divided by another function on the bottom, and that could be g of x, right? Okay, so recap here. H of x is our bigger function that encompasses two functions, f of x and then g of x. And f of x and g of x are being divided essentially, hence the quotient rule. So keeping this in mind, let me bring this on top here. There we go. All right, keeping that in mind. Now, let me show you guys how or what the formula of the quotient rule is. So if we were going to take the derivative of h prime of x, what you would do is f prime of x times g of x. And then instead of the addition sign in the product rule, you have a subtraction sign minus regular f of x times g prime of x. And then all of this divided by g of x, your bottom function. And this is, this is very important actually. I want to say this, that the quotient rule only pertains when you're dividing all of this, like f prime of x, g of x minus f of x and g prime of x. You always divide it by the bottom function. It's not the top function, always the bottom function. Keep that in mind. So you take g of x, and it's just g of x, it's not g prime of x. G of x and all of that is squared. The whole function is squared. Okay, kind of a lot going on here, but first things you can consider is that we have f prime of x on the left, and then hopefully you guys can see that. So f prime of x on the left, and then g prime of x on the right. So basically we have one function, the derivative of one function on one side and the derivative of one function on the other side. Again, if you watch my previous video, that's just kind of similar to the product rule. But keep in mind that, again, one function, the derivative is on one side, and then one function, the derivative is on another side. They're not together. And then another big thing that I want to reiterate is that on the bottom, you always divide it by the bottom function. For example, if it was g of x, in this case, you take g of x is squared, the whole function squared on the bottom of all of this stuff on the top. Okay, so let me delete the top stuff I have here. And then I want to take this as reference now. And let's move on to a practice problem. Okay, cool. And let me move my camera a little bit to the side, readjust here. Awesome. Okay, awesome. All right. So let's consider, for example, a function known as, so h of x could be, let's say 3x is squared plus 2, all divided by the 6x, for example. Okay. Cool. Make some more room. Awesome. So I wanted to create a barrier here. So 3x squared plus 2, 6x is our bottom function. So I want to label these. So our 3x squared plus 2 is our f of x function that we can reference. And then our 6x is going to be our g of x function. Okay, we have that in mind. So that kind of makes it simple here. If we reference the above formula that I have, we have f of x already in place, and we have our g of x already in place. And let me make that a better 6 there. Okay, so now let's just take the derivative of f prime of x. And let me create a barrier here. Keep everything organized. So the derivative of f prime of x would be just, so again, I like to break off the coefficient, x squared, exponent, 2, bring that down. So you would get 2x, and then that previous exponent, 2 minus 1, equals 1. Bring that there. So that'll be 2x to the first power. And then your original coefficient, just multiply it by the 2x. 3 times 2x is equal to 6x. And then the 2 we don't have to worry about. That's going to be 0 because that's just a constant. When you have a constant, the derivative is always 0. So f prime of x would just equal to 6x. And then g prime of x would be, so again, it's just 6 times x. I like to break off the coefficient. The derivative of a variable x is always going to be just 1. So it will be just 6 times 1 is equal to 6. Kind of a coincidence. We have 6 and then 6x there. But okay. So we have f of x, we have g of x, we have f prime of x, and also we have g prime of x. So basically we have everything we need to plug into the quotient rule formula that I have referenced above us. So in this case, all it just takes is just plugging and chugging. So we have f prime of x on the top, on our very left. So we found that f prime of x is 6x. So we write that. Cool. And then we see that g of x was just 6x. It was this guy here. Oh, that's cool. 6x, 6x. Okay. And then subtracted by f of x was just 3x squared plus 2. This top function here minus 3x squared plus 2. And that multiplied by g prime of x, which we found, which was this guy, times 6. And then all of that again divided by g of x. G of x was this, correct? Again, which I underlined on the bottom there, was 6x. But 6x, not 6x squared, 6x, all of that is squared. And there you go. So basically, you can see that, again, the big idea here is what I like to do, break down the problem, reference the formula. If you need to write out the formula, do so. Write it in terms of f and g of x, the two functions that you have. You already have f of x and g of x in the problem. So basically half of the steps that you need is completed. But all you need to do is just take the derivative of both functions, the top function and your bottom function. Do that, and then just plug and chug. And then again, this was the answer. Let me box this to make this apparent. But you could also simplify this. Again, 6x, 6x, that's 36x squared. But in this case, it's just it's the answer. But again, big idea, reiterate this one more time. Break down the problem, write the formula if you have to, the one that I referenced above us here. And then just take the derivative of both f and g of x, the top and bottom function, and plug and chug. And that's how you do the quotient rule. And this can help you in the product rule as well. If you haven't watched my previous video, that's the basic idea of how to do the product rule as well. But again, take everything step by step, break it down, organize, and that should do it pretty much. It should be very convenient, very efficient to do both the product and quotient rule this way. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching again. And I will see you in the next video, which I'll cover the chain rule and as well as integrals, the basics of integrals. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.